I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Pickering. And she's a very, very, very special lady. Come on up here. Oh, now, there's something, we've never met, have we?
No, but I've been to the last couple of conferences.
Okay. Have you ever been to the United States?
No, I haven't.
Okay. She's the only person that I know of with the name Jennifer Pickering, and, well, no, you're the second person I know with that name. The first person, Jennifer, that I ever met, Jennifer Pickering, and I went to grammar school together, only for 2 years. So I was very curious, and that's why I asked if you had ever been to the United States, if she was you. But I guess that's not the case. What is truly special about, and it's a true story, what is actually very special about her is that Jennifer has been determined to be a recovered schizophrenic. So I need not say any more.
Thank you very much. I would like to start firstly by thanking Judy Nicol and BioBalance for the opportunity to speak about my experience using the BioBalance complementary compounded medication. So where do I begin? I've had many psychiatric diagnoses over the years, one of which is major anxiety disorder. So having to speak to all of you today is quite challenging for me. So just bear with me as I give you a shortened version of my journey. About 4.5 years ago, myself and my family were at the end of our tether. We had tried all kinds of treatment, new and old, and nothing seemed to give me wellness for any length of time. Mum was asked by another carer had she heard of BioBalance. She hadn't, and promptly went home and Googled it. All excited, she printed off some pages and left them out for Dad to have a look at. She wasn't optimistic, as Dad wasn't really a part of my mental health journey and stood at the sidelines most of the time, but was still a concerned parent. After reading the information, Dad said to Mum, "This makes a lot of sense, let's give it a go. What have we got to lose?" Mum and Dad wanted the best for me, and we found Dr. Stuckey in Coolangatta, who was the first doctor to be trained in this treatment in Australia. So we made an appointment, and at that point, my road to recovery and wellness began. So testing determines what a person is lacking and is a simple process. A series of blood tests, a urine test and hair sample, which at the time had to be sent to the States. This all followed. This determined what nutrients I was lacking, and an individually tailored medication was formulated. The GP then writes up a script, which is then sent to a compounding pharmacist, who then makes up the tailor-made capsules. The testing was what I would call non-invasive or intrusive. I continued with formal medication on a much smaller scale, even to this day. Approximately 3 years on, BioBalance passed before it was felt I was stabilised sufficiently to begin reducing psychiatric medication. The reduction in medication was closely monitored by the psychiatrist. And at the beginning of last year, my psychiatrist said to me, I no longer need to see him on a regular basis, maybe once a year for a quick check-in, as I'm still taking one of his medications. It was a bit of a surprise that I'd come to this point, as I had been seeing psychiatrists for 20 years of my life. So let me take you back to when all my mental health issues began. I was 19 years old and just moved out of home for the first time. I was living with a couple of friends, started working, and was also studying. My friends were the first to notice changes. Apparently, I'd get up in the middle of the night, rearrange all the furniture, and have no recollection of doing it the next day. They thought it was great. The house never looked the same day in, day out. I was also struggling to keep a budget, so it was suggested I make an appointment with the school counsellor, which I did. She thought there was more to it, so she booked me in to see a psychiatrist. Then started the medication. All the while, my family, who lived 3 hours away, had no idea what was happening. Eventually, they found out when they got a call from the local psychiatric lockup hospital saying I had taken an overdose and was a patient there. This was mine and theirs first experience regarding mental health. This was all very new and scary for us. And what we didn't know was this was only the beginning of a very long and painful journey for all of us. A world of psychiatrists, around 20 or so all up, psychologists, many hospital admissions and medication regimes. For the next 21 years, I spent more time in hospital than out. I would go in for up to 3 to 4 months, then I would be discharged and out for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, then I would be readmitted. I became institutionalised. I spent many years in and out of Sunshine Coast Private Hospital psychiatric facility. It became my home and the nursing staff my family. A great deal of the time my behaviour became destructive, and I was often escorted by ambulance to Nambour Hospital on an involuntary treatment order, where I would reside for a month or 2. My diagnosis over the years and what is current is borderline personality disorder, schizoaffective disorder, major depression disorder, OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, and a number of anxiety disorders. We had tried all the oldest medications and all the current ones, and many different combinations as well. Nothing worked. Some of the medications had really bad side effects, 2 of them being weight gain, which didn't help my self-esteem, and tardive dyskinesia, which is involuntary body movement. We even went down the path of ECT, which is what used to be known as shock treatment in the old days. I had ECT sessions a number of times over the years. All that seemed to do was erase my memory. I have seen people who have had great transformations with ECT, and these days the procedure is slightly different than when I first had it. There isn't the memory loss there used to be. Because of the old procedure of ECT, I never regained a lot of my memory. Memories I do have of being a child or young adult are very vague. I tend to rely on photos and my family stories to know what I was like back then. I also became a self-harmer. It started off by taking many, many overdoses over the years, and an ambulance happened to be called regularly. My poor family, what I put them through. They would get the call from the hospital at all hours of the night saying what I had done. I continued that behaviour for many years. Then I started burning myself with cigarettes and ended up with skin grafts. It became addictive for me, probably part of the OCD pattern. I was also a voice hearer, and a lot of the self-harming behaviour was coming from the voice commands. The voices never stopped and were always negative and definitely detrimental to my well-being. Sometimes I would become paranoid with the voices, trying to convince me people were talking to me through the TV and that there were cameras everywhere recording my every move. On a couple of occasions whilst in hospital, the voices were telling me I couldn't eat the hospital food because they were trying to poison me. I spent many years in and out of hospital on involuntary treatment orders, meaning I was placed in a psychiatric facility against my will and forced treatment. That made me very angry because my choices were taken away. I wasn't in control of my life anymore. Not only was I in hospital by force, but I had to take medication even if I didn't want to. If I refused treatment, security would be called and I would be placed on a mattress on my stomach and an injection was given. I felt humiliated. This occurred many times over the years and became the norm in my life. My family and I were once told by a psychiatrist that this is the best I was going to be. I will always be this way, and there was no hope for me and that we needed to accept it. When I was at home, I didn't know how to look after myself. I had lost all my life skills, such as how to cook for myself, how to look after money and finances, how to get from A to B, even how to keep my house tidy and how to communicate with others. I hadn't worked since I was 19 and I didn't even have a car licence. My life was a mess. All I thought about was that I didn't want to be here My life existed solely on trying to harm myself and to do as much damage as I could and to try and eliminate myself from this life, nearly succeeding on numerous times. My family also suffered greatly, especially my mum, who became my carer. It was like what was happening to me was also happening to them. My family's world became a nightmare. That was up until 5 years ago when I discovered BioBalance. At the time of commencing this treatment, I was taking 4 different antipsychotic medications, 2 different antidepressants, and a few things for my anxiety. This medication was taken morning and night, 7 days a week. Over the last 5 years, I've been able to get off most of my medications with the exception of one. It took me 6 months to come off those medications, and I did this under the supervision of my psychiatrist. BioBalance is not a replacement for psychiatric medication, it is a complementary medication. The hope with BioBalance treatment is that it is possible to reduce some of your existing medications. 5 years on, I have a job as a community access worker, working for a community organisation, dealing with clients who have mental health issues, organising and facilitating group programs, which I really enjoy. I've completed my Certificate 3 in disabilities, my Certificate 4 in mental health, and the beginning of last year successfully completed a diploma in counselling. I've also completed a course in peer support work as well as a follow-up, and been part of the co-facilitating the Hearing Voices program on the Sunshine Coast. There also have been opportunities to speak to new staff at Queensland Health from the consumer perspective as part of their training. And on one occasion, the attendees I spoke to happened to be 20 psychiatrists on how to understand clients better from their perspective, which, as you can imagine, was quite a daunting experience. I'm also on a consumer reference groups within both the public and private health systems, and even have been on invitation to join panels to interview prospective employers within the mental health sector. I am also excited to have just heard last week, I've also been accepted for a scholarship to do a TAFE Certificate 4 course in mental health peer support work, and I'm also planning on getting started with my own consumer consultancy business, which I've been planning for some time. My biggest challenge, though, due to my anxiety, was to get my licence, which I did in November last year, and now I have my own car along with the licence, giving me more independence. This was a huge step for me. I feel like I've lived 2 very separate lives. Not many people can say that. One that was filled with sadness, anxiety, depression, voices and destruction. My life is amazing now. I have such a better relationship with my family and others as well. On February 17th this year, it has been 4 years since I was hospitalised for mental health issues, and I have not self-harmed in that time either, which is a great step forward. I'm not saying BioBalance is definitely the answer for everyone, but it definitely made a huge difference in my life. It changed my life, and I also believed it saved my life and that of my family. Please have an open mind, as I believe I'm living proof it does work. Thank you.
Wow. Dr. Stuckey, are you here? Well done, young man. Well done. Jennifer, well done. Extremely well done. This is what many times we can say we live for. When patients come to see us and they say, well, thank you, we say there's nothing to be thankful for yet, but ultimately you will be the one who we'll be saying thank you to for having faith, for following through, and to continuing all the good work, because now you become the messenger to the next person and the help and the guide and the caretaker of more than you could have imagined. So we look forward to hearing about all the amazing things you're going to do, Jennifer. Congratulations. Congratulations.